Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Sonia?
Yes.
You in danger, girl.
I knew you were going to say that quote, so I didn't say anything. Because it's such a good one. We are dorking out about 1990's Ghost. It is written by Bruce Joel Rubin. He also wrote Jacob's Ladder. That movie's fucked up.
Yeah.
And Deep Impact, which I think is on our list. We're going to talk about it someday. And it's directed by David Zucker, who is he's really known for comedy. He's Airplane, Top Secret, Naked Gun, stuff like that. And this was his first solo directing effort, I believe, and it stars Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, Whoopi Goldberg, Tommy Goldwyn, and
Tony.
What did I say?
Tommy.
Oh my God, weird. I swear, I'm only having Diet Pepsi, and yet I'm all scatterbrained. I apologize. And then I know I'm going to get this name wrong, but I feel like I need to give him a shout out. Vincent Schiavelli. God damn it. As the subway ghost. Every time that dude shows up, I'm like, yay, it's that guy. He's Mr. Vargas in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yes. I'm like, he's just one of those people like Stephen Tobolowsky. Is that how you pronounce him? I did that one? Just one of those awesome character actors that when he shows up, I'm like, I love that guy. Margo, did you see Ghost in the theater?
You're goddamn right I did.
Yeah, me too.
Loved it.
Me too. This played at my movie theater, and it played forever. Forever, this movie played at my theater. It was such a hit. A huge hit. This movie made so much money, and nobody expected that. I looked it up because I was like, how long was this movie in the top? It was 19 weeks in the top 5 of the weekend box office, which is pretty big deal. That's like fucking Marvel money. Yeah. You know, it made like $22 million. It cost $22 million to make. It made like over $500 million. A really big deal for a movie that's basically like a romance. You know, this is like comic book movie money.
It's a chick flick.
It's totally a chick flick, and it was nominated for a bunch of Academy Awards. Also, another weird thing that doesn't happen very often. It was nominated for Best Picture and Editing and Score, and it won for Supporting Actress for Whoopi Goldberg and Screenplay, which I'm like, okay.
What were the other screenplays?
Good question. I have it right here. It is, well, some of these I'm like, I see. Mm-hmm. All right. Alice by Woody Allen.
Nope.
Yeah, fuck Woody Allen. Avalon by Barry Levinson.
That's a great movie.
I have not seen it since the theater, but I remember liking it at the time. Green Card.
I actually like Green Card. It's really stupid, but I like it.
That's the one with Andy McDowell, right?
And the creep, the French creep.
Gerard Depardieu. Yeah, that played at my theater too. I haven't seen that one since the theater either. And then the last one is Metropolitan by Whit Stillman.
Oh, God, that movie. Fuck it.
I also haven't seen that one since the theater.
What
so
a weird year.
Those are all the original screenplays. So I'm like, yeah, out of all of those, I'm like, sure, I guess Ghost.
Okay, yeah.
But then if you look over at screenplay based on other material, the winner was Dances with Wolves. And I'm like, all right. And then Awakenings was nominated. And of course, this is the year that Goodfellas should have won everything, probably. Goodfellas.
Right. It was too intense for people.
Yeah. And The Grifters.
Yeah, I like that movie.
And Reversal of Fortune.
Like that movie.
Yeah. Alan Dershowitz. The Dersh. Fuck the Dersh, by the way. Listen to our other podcast, What a Creep, where we talk about how much we hate Alan Dershowitz. But we're talking about Ghost. How many times did you see it in the theater? Or were you a one and done? Or did you go multiple times and see it with friends?
I think I might have seen it twice. I know I was really psyched when it came out on VHS. And it took a long time to rent it.
Mm-hmm. It was one
And
of those
then-
movies.
Yeah, and then when it was on HBO, it was a big deal.
Yeah. Because I saw it at my theater, and then it was the movie that, like, I went back. I saw it multiple times with people. It's like I went back with my mom. I went back with, another friend that wants to see it. It was just like that kind of movie. I talked about this when we talked about Titanic. Like it was that kind of movie where, like, word of mouth would start to spread that it was actually good. And then people want to see it. And I was always the person that was like, sure, I'll see that with you, which is why I saw it so many times in the theater.
We should say that it had this big hit with the Righteous Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That song was like in the top 10 for the first time since the 60s.
You couldn't get away from that song.
You could not get away from that song. So that was also a part of it. But I honestly think it's the Whoopi Goldberg factor. I think Whoopi really carries this movie.
Yeah, this movie's a really good mix of romance and comedy. And there's some shit in here that's really scary and fucked up. But I actually think it balances it really well. I know that, like, there's probably a lot of people who are listening that would, like, love for us to shit all over this movie, but I'm totally not going to because I really like it.
I find it okay. It's dated
for sure. Yes,
the special effects are not that special. The Demi Moore is the special effect. Her eyes, her crying, that beautiful face, that haircut, that is just a dream.
Yes,
I mean she also is just like her own thing. But Patrick Swayze at his healthiest,
yes.
And doing the action stuff. So I could say, do I believe him as a banker? Mm-mm. Not really. Tony Goldwyn? Absolutely.
For sure.
He's very believable. Do I understand the plot? Not really. I don't quite understand why he has to wait until 4:00 that he calls somebody and then he can transfer the money when he already just transferred the money. I don't understand, but it doesn't matter. I think Whoopi Goldberg is hilarious. I think the whole scene, we're going to spoil. We should just say that we're spoiling the details. So if you haven't seen Ghost before, maybe watch it and then listen.
Yes.
But we meet Sam Wheat and his girlfriend, Molly. Mm-hmm. And we also see Tony Goldwyn's abs, like the chest and abs the whole time. I don't think he had a beer in like months. Like he was like, I'm going to show this off every scene I can.
I'm like, why is his shirt off? Like, why is
he got in shape? He's like, fuck that. I'm not going to be in a movie with Patrick Swayze and everybody just swoon over him.
Yeah.
I'm going to get mine. They're best friends. And Molly, who's a sculptor, an artist.
Yeah, like an artist. Yes.
She, at the time, 1990, they're on Prince Street, I believe. It's Prince or Crosby. They're all around each other in Soho. And it was dangerous at night. A lot of the punk clubs were down there. And it was abandoned. There was artists had it, and then they took off. And they said the rents were too high. I'm like, that place would go for about $5 million.
I was gonna ask you. Like,
I looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had a doctor that was on that street. People used to point it out. That whole neighborhood is now bougie with like fine shops. Also, and I went yesterday to where the bad guys and where Oda Mae lives, which is in Prospect Heights. And that was kind of scary at the time. And I went back and took pictures, and they're totally different now, those neighborhoods. I mean, this is like, it's a New York City that doesn't exist. And I'm always kind of geeking out over that.
Yeah.
I just think that's super interesting. But anyway, they buy this place in Soho, and Sam is a banker, and he's really kind of paying for everything. And he and Molly go to see Macbeth. And their whole thing is they're in love. They're not married, but they are in love. They're sharing a life together. But he doesn't say, I love you. Mm-hmm. He only says ditto.
Yeah. She's like, I love you. And he's ditto.
And it's like, okay, you're not in high school. No one's going to overhear you. Like when you're alone making love with your person, you can say, I love you. There's something wrong there. But anyway, they go to see Macbeth. And as they walk home, he is killed by a robber. It's a robbery gone wrong. The guy was just supposed to steal his wallet.
Yes.
But Sam, of course, is going to fight back because that's the way Sam rolls.
Yes.
Sam is killed.
Yeah, we don't know that the guy is. We don't know that guy's backstory yet. We don't know what. We just think it's a robbery gone wrong. We don't know all the other stuff yet.
No, it doesn't take long. Well, Willie Lopez is the person that kills Sam. Sam sees lights when he dies. He sees himself out of his body, and he sees lights in the sky. And normally people talk about that. If you read about it, stuff like life after death, or people died and come back, they see lights. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's to go to heaven or whatever. I don't know what happens in the afterworld. Yeah. I'm not an expert. But in this movie, I'm just doing the rules of this movie. According to the rules of this movie, so he's now stuck in limbo. He goes with his body to the hospital, pronounced dead. He meets other dead people there. Mm-hmm. He goes back to the apartment and hangs out with Molly because he really has nothing else to do. He's sort of like in limbo.
Right.
And Molly cries, and Molly
she's the most beautiful crier you've ever seen.
God. It's so terribly sad.
It's super sad. And that stuff makes me feel really, that stuff bums me out. And also before he even dies, they're having this moment where they're like in bed and she's like, I love you. Like, I really love you. And he says ditto. And, he says like, he's afraid to be happy. Right. He says like, I'm afraid that the bubble will burst, and he, for a minute I was like, does he mean money? Like, cause he's a banker, but he really just means like that happiness. Like he's afraid to enjoy it, which is so sad because, the next night they're going to go see Macbeth and he's going to be killed. And he didn't necessarily really enjoy it while he could have. And that's a bummer.
No. Well, he's young too. I mean, he's starting his career. They're just moving in together. They're kind of starting this life. I mean, it's still a little weird that he's a little emotionally distant. Yeah. Stunted. That's a good word.
Yeah.
That's when we find out that Carl. Tony Goldwyn. Carl is his name. That's from Walking Dead, in case you're wondering why we do that. Carl. Turns out from the beginning we see this. He has the hots for Molly. Mm-hmm. Like, he wants to get warm with her form.
Totally get it, by the way. Get it.
And she's smoking hot. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? He calls her a lot. He's her one, like, I guess this all takes place, I guess, in a few weeks. So, but that's when we find out that Carl set up Sam to be robbed, but he didn't expect him to be killed.
Right.
And that's when Sam needs to find out what's going on. So Molly, one day, she's home, and the guy that killed Sam took his wallet with him. And his name's Willie Lopez. He's the bad guy. He shows up, one of the bad guys, shows up at their place and is looking for something. And the cat, God bless this cat, scratches him.
Yeah.
The cat's there for us. And the cat it sees him and hisses and scratches at him, and he takes off. And that's when we find out that Carl is in on this. And there's about $4 million. And it's a little confusing. Carl goes to Willie's place in Brooklyn, and they're having this conversation. He's like, yeah, you weren't supposed to kill him. You were just supposed to take his wallet. Yeah. Because something was supposed to be in his wallet, but then it turns out it wasn't in his wallet.
Yeah, it was some code or something. Like, he needs a special passcode to transfer money around. It's like blah, blah, blah. Like,
it's written by people who don't know what those jobs are. They just come up with a thing. Like, Sam has a code, and he wrote it on a piece of paper, and it was on the shit that he took home to Molly that was on his desk. Like, he brought home his stuff from work. Sam doesn't know what to do. And then as he's leaving, because he realizes Molly's in danger. So he's walking around, and he noticed this parlor, the psychic parlor. And that's where we meet Oda Mae. And the movie just takes this big turn.
It does.
And it's Whoopi Goldberg, and just her energy. She's like hilarious from the word jump. She's so funny. And she's a fraud. She pretends that she's a psychic, but she's just putting on a show with her two sisters. Sam shows up and starts talking. And in the rules of this movie, she can hear him, but she can't see him. And nobody else can hear him, because it turns out she does have a bit of the gift.
Yes. And by the way, don't think too hard about the rules when you watch this movie or it'll hurt your brain.
I don't get it. Yeah.
And I love Whoopi Goldberg in this movie so much. And for a lot of our younger listeners, you probably only know Whoopi Goldberg as someone who's on The View, but Whoopi Goldberg is one of those actresses who's really special. Like, she's just special. And when she shows up in a movie, she's always really good. Even if the movie's shitty, like, Whoopi Goldberg's really good. And there's a reason why people love her so much. And if you go back and watch this movie, you'll see that she's more than just this person on The View argues with Meghan McCain. Like, she is just one of those special people. And she's so fucking good in this movie. She's funny when she needs to be. She's serious when she needs to be. Like, I love her relationship with her sisters. I think it's really funny. Like, even when they're like watching TV and they're like, and the sister's like, I want to watch Love Connection. And like, she's like, you should send your picture in. And she's like, I already did. Like, just their relationship made me smile.
They haven't got back to me yet.
They haven't got back to me yet.
It's so cute. Sam recruits her to go to Molly and warn her that something's amiss. This guy, Willie, has their address, and he should have said, and changed the goddamn locks.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why that's not a thing, but once again, don't think too hard.
Don't think too hard. Whoopi Goldberg goes to the apartment, starts screaming. Molly won't let her in, so she's yelling from the street, about the green underwear and the T-shirt and the this and the that. And then she and Molly have this conversation, and Molly is convinced this woman knows way too many personal things for this to be a fraud. And she's not asking for money. She's just trying to warn her. And she wants her to go to the police and look up this guy. And she goes to the police, and the woman cop is such a bitch.
Such a bitch.
She's horrible.
These
obviously Molly's stressed out.
Yeah, they have no empathy for her at all. I didn't think. I was like,
I mean, the guy, who is he? He's in a million different things.
He's always playing a cop.
Yeah. No, he was on that radio show. God damn it. I can't think of anything today.
I'm
Stephen
Root. It's Stephen Root.
Thank you. Good God, that was going to make me crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was being a little bit nicer, but they're showing, and I'm like, how old is Oda Mae? Because they have her like photographed, like I saw it like 1962, 1967. I'm like, Whoopi Goldberg was in her 30s at the time.
I know.
But anyway, that's another thing with the movie. Then Demi Moore is like, well, she might be a fraud, so I don't have to worry about this. But Tony Goldwyn is freaking out because he owes somebody some kind of money, and he's doing some shady shit, and he's got a bunch of accounts, and if you put them all together, it equals $4 million. And he owes this money to somebody.
Yeah, he's giving off some serious, like, William H. Macy and Fargo vibes. Like,
there you go.
He's getting like really desperate to figure this out. And yeah, there's all this stuff in the movie about this $4 million and Rita Miller and fake accounts and transferring this and codes. And it's kind of Ebert always used this term, the McGuffin.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the McGuffin of the movie. Like, this is just the rando thing that they need to move the plot along, I guess. And so, yeah, much like you, I'm like, I don't really understand what's happening, but that's okay because I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah, and Whoopi Goldberg is so great.
She is.
She just sells it in every scene. The scene where she shows up and Willie shows up, and she starts saying, "Oh, is this Willie from Prospect Street?" And he starts freaking out.
Yes.
The whole thing at the bank where she has to schmooze the guy to get the check to her. She's so funny. She's so good.
I love it. He's like, stop elaborating. Stop with the extra stuff. And like, she's just making it worse. And there's this whole thing about her and Patrick Swayze are so fun together. I wish they had been able to make other movies together because I actually really like their chemistry together. Not romantic, like just the way that like the buddies, like the buddy chemistry, the like him singing Henry the Eighth I am, and like she's like, I can't take it anymore. Like they're, all the stuff that he does with her, the and then he goes back to see her, and like now every ghost in town is like hounding her to like talk to people, and and then Sam shows up and she's like, damn it, Sam. And of course her sisters are like, she's talking to the white guy again. And like just their playfulness makes what could have been a really downer movie feel light and makes it easier. Does. It's like the little bit of sugar that makes the medicine go down, I guess. I really enjoy that relationship so much. And, we should say, like, he has really amazing chemistry with Demi Moore, too. And, of course, there's that amazing, like, super famous, like, scene of them at the pottery wheel that's been, like, made fun of a million times. And there's a reason it's been spoofed so many times. It's because, it's a really romantic scene, and they have such good chemistry together too.
They do. They do.
And I love her hair. Makes me miss my pixie cut. But I did not look like Demi Moore with mine.
It's a tricky haircut to pull off.
For sure.
Not everybody can do it. She looked, and she cut her hair off just before she took the part, like just before filming. So they didn't even know if it was going to work or not, but they liked it when they saw her on camera.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It seems like Molly would be someone who doesn't care about stuff like that and would keep her hair short so she could concentrate on her art.
On her art and crying.
When I saw this in the theater, the scene where Sam jumps into Oda Mae's body so that he can touch Molly one last time. There's such a like gay panic in the theater I saw it in. Once again, Walnut Creek, super bougie and white and kind of conservative, and like Oda Mae, you see her hands like reach out and like grab Molly's, and people in the audience were like, like, oh no, we're gonna see women touching each other, and then it shifts so that it's Patrick Swayze and not Oda Mae, and I was like, oh, I understand why they did it, but now thinking about it, I'm like, there's a little gay panic there. I think
there's a lot, and also that robs him of his energy.
Yes.
Oh, we should. Vincent Schiavelli, he plays a subway ghost. He's on the A train or the A line.
He's so scary. Get off my train!
Get off my train! And then he teaches him how to do it, how to move objects. And then it turns out he's probably got mental health issues. He might have jumped in front of a train. We don't know what his deal is, but he takes off. But now Sam has powers, so he can punch people. He could throw people around. He could scare Willie around the apartment. He sends Willie to his death.
Yes.
And then Willie dies and sees he's hit by a car, Myrtle Avenue. And then he looks up. I know where all these places are. And he looks up, and then he realizes he's watching. Sam starts talking like, "You're dead, Willie." And when Willie dies, this is where I was like, "Oh, Willie!" It's the ghosts, the dark spirits show up to take him to hell or wherever they're taking him. That stuff doesn't work for me. It's a little cheesy.
Yeah, it is a little cheesy, and the idea of it scares me more than the execution in the movie, I guess.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
It's like the idea that, because you see them like they're terrified, right? And they're freaking out and they're being dragged away, and you're like, shit, they're going to be fucking damned. And what's happening to them is never going to stop. It's always going to happen. But I have to like make that leap myself to realize like how fucked up what's happening to them is. Like, the effect didn't work for me as much this time. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because the effects just weren't there at the time for them to do something. I don't know, but the idea of it scares me more.
Yeah, it's 1990, and they didn't have like a huge budget, and it, like you said, nobody thought it would be a hit.
Yeah,
it was just this silly little romantic movie that they were making.
Yeah, I do like how they reveal. Mainly, I like how they did it with Sam at the beginning. Like Sam chases Willie Lopez off. Like you hear a gunshot and you see like Willie Lopez run, and Sam is chasing him. And then Sam walks back to check on Molly and sees himself dying. And I'm like, that's fucked up. Like, I think that scene is actually really well done. And, and sad. And, I don't want to say realistic, because but like,
no,
it's a interesting interpretation. And I was interested in it, and I like how it's done. And, I mean, I guess we could also say that this is like a very Christian view of.
Well, yeah,
Well,
the person, the Jerry Zucker, the Zuckers are very conservative. I was reading in one of the notes, like he consulted Dennis Prager, like that asshole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for some meaning in the script, because yeah. Well, it's very much like bad people go to hell and good people go to heaven. And there's nothing in between. There's no question about it. Oda Mae and Molly team up. Oda Mae goes to rescue Molly because now Carl is chasing her, because Carl's desperate. He lost $4 million. They're coming to kill him.
There's easier ways to make money.
There certainly are. I don't get it, but he's chasing them around the loft, and then Sam kind of he goes to the window. We knew that was going to play off, because it's like one of the first scenes is by that window, and that hook, like that's built, takes things in and out of the apartment, like big heavy things. That's how people do them, and it crashes, and then this glass just comes down on Tony Goldwyn and kills him. Da-da. And then the spirits come for him. Mm-hmm. Drag him away. The evil spirits. They're taking him to his whatever. And then Sam and Molly finally have a moment where the lights come back, and he's now able to cross to the other side because he did what he was supposed to do, finish the job, whatever. It's very sweet. They have like a quick moment, and then he basically, I wish he said something like, go have a long life, go live a full life, you know?
I wrote in my notes, I'm like, do you think Molly ever falls in love again?
Yeah, because I was like, I would hope he would, but I don't think he wants her to date again. I mean, we forgot to mention Tony Goldwyn as Carl shows up. She's been grieving for just a couple of weeks at this point, and he hits on her like really hard.
I know, so gross. Like spills coffee on his shirt so that he has a reason to take his shirt off, and
he's not wearing an undershirt. So it's and he kisses her, and then that's interrupted because Sam knocks a picture over. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a total creep. But Sam does get to say goodbye to Molly. Yeah, and he says, "I love you," and then she says, "Ditto."
And she's got the beautiful perfect tears running down her face. When I saw this in the theater, I remember this very clearly, when the lights come and then Molly can hear Sam. The audience gasped. They all went, like they were in it. And that was something. Yeah. And then I also remember, because once again, it played at my theater. So I watched the end a million times. Very often, audiences would gasp, and they were weeping at the end of this,
crying their eyes out. People, men, women, they were completely absorbed in the tale.
Yes.
They have, like you said, so much chemistry. Mm-hmm. They look great together. I mean, I wouldn't put them together if I were putting a movie. I wouldn't say like, oh, these four people will make a hit film. I would just think, oh, those seem interesting. Yeah. But it works. It's just one of those happy accidents that thankfully there wasn't too much interference like they have with movies nowadays, where too many people have a say in what happens. I think they just it was just this little project and it just turned into this movie. It's a gem of a film. I love it. I don't get bored.
You were like, we should watch Ghost. And I was like, okay. Like, once again, haven't seen it in a really long time. And during this rewatch, I was like, this is really good. Like, I just like it. It's watchable as shit.
Yeah.
They are really great in it. And, you know, Whoopi Goldberg was a star at this point. Like, she had done Color Purple. She had been nominated for an Oscar before this. You know, she was a star. Patrick Swayze had done Dirty Dancing. So he was a pretty big star. Yeah. But Demi Moore was like, she wasn't the big star that she turned out. It was like after Ghost. It was like where she started to get those big fat paydays.
Yes.
You know, the G.I. Janes and the Striptease. Is that on our list?
I forget that one. Yeah.
I'm like, is that on our list? I haven't seen that one since the theater. It might be fun to talk about. So yeah, like you said, this movie was not expected to be this kind of a hit, and it was so huge, and people saw it over and over and over again. That's why it made so much money. It was a movie there was something for everyone to like in this movie. It was a great like date movie, but it was a great like take your mom, take your grandma movie. Like,
there's nothing offensive. Like, they don't. I mean, and it's got a lot of emotion to it. Like, when Sam dies, it's really terribly sad. Like, it really feels real. Like, you know, she's holding his body, and they're in Soho, and it's middle of the night.
Dude, the cops and ambulances are so slow in this movie. Why are they so slow?
They're like, oh, that Molly, she's always crying about something.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, she's calling the cops again.
And I picture that blonde cop like, oh, sure, we'll be right there.
Yeah, whatever. Let me just get some coffee first. And did you see Truly, Madly, Deeply with Alan Rickman? It came out like the same year, and it's like the British Ghost. I haven't seen it since the theater, but I really like that one too. Actually, I didn't see this one in the theater. I'm sorry. I rented it. I remember really liking that one too. And Alan Rickman is the one who dies and like hangs around. And I think it's Juliet Stevenson is the woman. Anyway, it's a good one too. Did you
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it came out the same year. Did you see in 2017 Ghost Story with Casey Affleck, with Creep Casey Affleck?
No.
That one is also very ghost-like with he dies and the woman is Michelle. No, I'm sorry. It's Rooney Myra. From Mara. God, always wrong. But he's like kind of trapped in the house that they live in, and like he watches her like grieving like over the years and all this stuff. It's a really slow, quiet movie. And
no thanks.
Yeah. But it's got.
I've been through enough grief in my life.
Yeah, no shit. These movies aren't for you.
I don't. Yeah, they're not for me. Other people, that's fine. It's just, you know my story. I've been through a lot. So
you're all no thank you.
No, get me a Whoopi Goldberg in there. I need a scene where she's just like. I love Oda because she's funny. She's also she lashes out. She tells people to shut up. She tells people she's just so real. I find that performance just so goddamn enjoyable. You don't forget it.
It really is. There's a scene where, so after she gets the $4 million, he wants her to donate it to these nuns. And like, she's like she doesn't want to. And she's being so slow about it and like won't let go of the check. And I was like, dude, I hear you. Like, I also would be like, can I just keep a little bit for myself? And that's a legit thing. I also like to imagine that this is the same character who joined Sister Act. And
yes. She would play a nun in a couple of years.
Yeah. I remember really liking Sister Act, by the way.
I love Sister Act, the first one.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I find that also enjoyable.
I don't remember the second one at all, other than I saw it. But the first one, I really, really liked the first one.
Well, Whoopi had a big hit. Well, she had a Broadway hit. And I think Michael Mike Nichols directed it. It was this HBO special, and she got the Emmy.
Was it her one woman show?
Yeah, her one woman show. Sorry.
Right.
And I remember my friend's parents going to see in the city, and they were telling my parents all about it. There's this woman, Whoopi Goldberg. She's so amazing. And then she did Color Purple, which she's fantastic in. And then she did, like, remember Burglar?
Yes. There was
Burglar, and there was another one.
Fatal Beauty. Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Jumpin' Jack Flash. There was a few of them, and some of them were stinkers.
Yeah, I don't think they just didn't know what to do with her.
No, and then Ghost comes out. It's like her career was revitalized. Yeah.
Because she, like I said, she's special. She's not. She is not your typical like romantic comedy lead, but she wasn't like. She's not like an action star either, but she's super funny. So
yeah,
they kept putting her in these weird, like kind of buddy cop type movies. And it's, I don't know. I don't want to say better than that because buddy cop movies are great. But like I said, she's special. And I'm glad that she did this. I know that they had talked about like a couple of other people. I wrote it down. Like, well, at one point they approached Jackie.
Jackie could have been good too.
She could have been good.
Jackie Harry is pretty goddamn great.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is like so late 80s, early 90s to say Jackie. But also, apparently, Tina Turner was auditioned, and then they talked to Oprah at one point. And I'm like, Oprah might have been good.
Know what? Oprah and Whoopi had a competition for years.
I could see
when
it.
They were making The Color Purple. This because we covered this with book versus movie. It was Oprah's first film, and she did some really great take, and they used it in the movie. It was like an ad lib.
Yeah.
And then Whoopi came over to her and said, "Oh my God, that was so amazing. You should feel really good right now." And Oprah looked at her and said, "What the fuck would you know? This is your first film too." Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that Oprah. This is before the talk show and everything. She was a little saltier, I guess, back then. They had like a détente for, is that what it's called? They were like Biggie and Tupac for years. And then I think they made amends later on. But it was a big deal, like Oprah wanting to get Whoopi parts, basically.
Yeah, I could see that.
And Whoopi wiping the floor with it.
Well, now Oprah is Oprah, and
yeah.
So, Whoopi's doing her thing too. So
she makes millions doing that. So good for her.
I don't watch The View, so
it's too aggravating.
Yeah, they got rid of Meghan McCain finally. I'm like, maybe, but I still won't watch. So shows what I know. Some of the other people so apparently they considered like everyone and their brother for the Patrick Swayze role. So the list here is Harrison Ford. And I'm like,
sure.
Michael J. Fox. I'm like,
they have to get a cute little co-star. How tall is Demi Moore?
Put him on a box the whole time.
Exactly. Like Kevin Hart size.
Exactly. It's a little ghost.
Get a little telephone book he sits on.
I love it. It's just a little ghost.
Wearing lifts. Platform sneakers and everything.
I love Mike. We both love Michael J. Fox, by the way.
Michael J. Fox. Oh, he's amazing. Not a creep. He's amazing.
Yeah. Paul, I love this one. Paul Hogan.
Oh, he did another one.
But he did he did Almost an Angel, which is
God.
Not
his Crocodile Dundee movie, if you ever want to see something problematic from the 80s.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It is on our list. Should we do it soon? Because I would love to do a little.
Tell us. Send us on Twitter or something.
Yeah, let us know if you want us to do Crocodile Dundee. It's been a little while since we've done a Sonia and Margo Destroy Your Childhood, so maybe Crocodile Dundee would be a good one.
Yeah, I'd be into it.
Tom Hanks. I'm like,
always.
Yeah, he would have been great. Kevin Bacon.
He would have been great.
Yeah, Kevin Kline would have been great.
He would have been great.
Tom Cruise.
He'd like the
it's a little ghost.
It's another little ghost. Get him a little. Get some telephone books.
It's just a little scary. It's just a little sad. And then Alec Baldwin.
He'd be good.
I'm like, he'd be good too.
He's an asshole, but he's a great actor.
He's such an asshole. Listen to our other show where we've talked about Alec Baldwin a few times. He pops up. He's such a prick, but he's so good.
He's great.
That you let it all fucking slide. He's so good. Yeah. And then apparently Bruce Willis also turned down the role.
He didn't think it was believable, which he's not wrong. I mean, it's
you dummy. And then for Demi Moore's role, there were a couple people. Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm like, I love Michelle Pfeiffer.
She was like, everybody wanted her.
Yeah.
At that time for lead roles. Yeah.
Yeah. Molly Ringwald. I'm like,
was she like 12? I mean,
well, this would have been after Pickup Artist, right?
That's true. Yeah, but she wouldn't have been as good.
No, she's too young. She was still too young for the part, though.
She's still too young. Yeah.
Meg Ryan would have been good.
Would have been great.
Yeah. Julia Roberts. I feel like
would have been good.
Yeah, I feel like she might have been too young for that part too. But maybe I'm crazy. And then Nicole Kidman.
Well, we'll talk about her when we talk about what we're dorking out about. But she probably was too young.
Yeah. And then
and not well known.
No, because maybe Days of Thunder came out right before that, or maybe the same year.
Days of Thunder?
Days of Thunder? Question mark.
What?
It's just that one's just a little race car movie. It's just a little race car movie.
I never seen it.
It's stupid.
That's what I thought.
When I was staying with my parents while they were doing work on the house, my dad was watching Days of Thunder, and I was like, "This is stupid." And he's all, "I know it's stupid." And I'm like, "All right, I'm just telling you, it's stupid." But I did sit there and watch it, so what do I know? Do you want to hear about some of the other movies that were nominated for the Oscar that year?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Ghost was nominated for 5 awards. It was nominated for Best Picture, and also nominated was Awakenings. Mm-hmm. So sad. That movie's a bummer. The Godfather Part 3.
Not a good movie.
Goodfellas.
Awesome movie.
Yeah, and then the winner was Dances with Wolves.
And I remember enjoying Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
And seeing it over the years. I mean, it's one of those where you have to talk about one day. Because
I think it's a good movie. And there's this idea that you have to be like Team Goodfellas or Team Dances with Wolves.
Right.
I think they're both good movies. Which one are we all still talking about? Goodfellas. But
sure.
I get it. So, directing, it wasn't nominated. Nobody, other than Whoopi Goldberg, nobody was nominated for acting. But she won for Oda Mae Brown. The other nominees were Annette Bening for The Grifters.
And she was fantastic in that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a long time, but I really liked it at the time. Lorraine Bracco for Goodfellas.
Fantastic.
Yep. Diane Ladd for Wild at Heart.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
And then Mary McDonnell for Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, she was good.
And she was good too. Let's see. Screenplay, we already talked about that. What was the other one? La la la. Going. Oh, original score. Dances with Wolves won that one.
Okay.
And it was Avalon was nominated. Ghost. Havana. Do you remember Havana with Robert Redford?
No, I've never seen it.
Okay, Havana was I believe a romance with him and like Lena Olin, and that one was supposed to be a big hit, and it played at my theater, and we had it in like our biggest auditorium, and nobody came to see it, and we were like, wah wah.
I wonder what that's like. If like, do you have to show it if no one shows up? Do you still have to play it, or
so
legally, like, what is the deal?
So very often we would start the movie, and there'd be like, there would be people in it, like, but just not a lot. Sometimes after that first couple of days, like that first day, if no one shows up, we move it to like a smaller auditorium. But like we always start the movie unless it's like the last show of the night, maybe, and it's the last movie that gets out. Maybe we wouldn't start it because we just wanted to go home early.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if like there's nobody there, do you show the movie? I mean,
yeah, very often we still do start it because, or at least we did back in the day. I don't know. Maybe they have different policies now because you never knew. Like someone might show up 5 or 10 minutes late and want to see it. And then you'd have to start it from the beginning and it throws off the whole schedule for the rest of the day. So
gotcha.
That's why we would do it. But sometimes we had movies like Braveheart that were super long and they would get out like at 1 a.m. and we would be crossing our fingers that nobody would come to that show so that we could go home. We're tired.
I get it.
And then like inevitably, like we wouldn't start it. And then some asshole would show up like 10 minutes late. And we're like, no, not only do we have to stay, but now we have to stay 10 minutes later. Anyway, movie theater problems. And then the last one was, best film editing, which, you know, maybe we don't care, but it was all Dances with Wolves 1, Ghost, Godfather Part 3, Goodfellas, and then The Hunt for Red October. Which I liked.
It's an interesting movie.
Yeah. So those are all the movies that were nominated for the Oscar that year against Ghost.
Do you want to hear about some of the top songs in the summer of 1990?
I can't wait for this.
We've featured, I think we've talked about a lot of 1990 movies because I was like, oh, we've already talked about that. But so I'll try to pick something new. But Mariah Carey, Vision of Love, you couldn't escape it.
I loved Mariah Carey's first album. I used to listen to it all the time.
Poison, Unskinny Bop.
I was not a Poison girl. I was a Belle Biv DeVoe Poison girl. I wasn't a Poison the band girl. Yeah.
Maxi Priest, Close to You. Those were one of the songs I played all the time.
I still like that song.
I just want to get close to you.
I like that one.
MC Hammer, Have You Seen Her? Tell me, have you seen her? Because he couldn't sing. He just talked the lyrics.
And then, yeah, he got some backup vocals to do that. Tell me, have you seen her? Like, because he couldn't do that part. Have you seen her?
Have you seen her?
Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. That album was so huge.
Concrete Blonde, Joey.
I love that song.
Me too. I know, I'm a dork. And you didn't know this, but I picked Belle Biv DeVoe, Do Me. Do Me, baby.
I loved
Belle Biv DeVoe.
Loved Belle Biv DeVoe.
I thought It Was Me was one of my favorites. So I would put that on my CD in my car and play that song over and over again. I love Belle Biv DeVoe.
I was a big fan. I loved New Edition. I was super into New Edition, and I loved Belle Biv DeVoe, Poison, and Do Me, and the one you just said, which was Thought It Was Me.
Thought It Was Me.
Yeah, that one. I had the album. I loved it. I was really into them.
Yeah, totally.
What else are you dorking out about?
I don't know if I'm dorking out about it, but I watched it. It's a new show on Hulu here in the States. I'm sorry. You'll have to find this for yourselves if you're other parts of the world, but 9 Perfect Strangers.
Oh, yeah. That's on my list.
It's Nicole Kidman, Melissa McCarthy, Michael Shannon. I was blanking this. I was trying to describe this to my friend Erin today, and I just said, you know, that tall guy with the face.
Did she know exactly who you're talking about?
No, she was laughing at me like, what the fuck are you talking? Because I saw him in the subway once, and he lives in Brooklyn. He's super tall. Anyway, it's about this spa, and a group of people, 9 people show up, and they all have something that's wrong with them. And sometimes it's a family, and it's couples and individuals. And Nicole Kidman plays a woman named Masha, who's this Russian healer, and she's helping these people go through their problems. Or is she helping them? And Nicole Kidman has never been thinner than I hate her for it.
That's saying something, because she's skinny.
She wears all white. and she's got that white blonde hair and this face that like, I don't want to say it. Oh, she looks ethereal.
Got
like
it.
She looks, but it's like, is she also evil? Or is she just troubled? Barbie Carnival is in this too. He's really good. He plays a former 49er.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
And they have 3 episodes right now on Hulu. And then it's going to be a weekly show through September. I think I'll stick with it. We'll see what night of the week it drops. I have like a Thursday night open for things like this. So I think I'm going to check it out. But that's my dorking out this week. 9 Perfect Strangers.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to check it out. It's on my list. I put it on my list. I have something that I watched that I think is really good. It's not brand new. It came out in 2019, and for some reason I just missed it. And it's a documentary on Netflix called "This Changes Everything." Have you seen?
I've been seeing that.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it popped up for me, and I had not watched it, and I was like, why have I not watched this? So it's a documentary about gender discrimination in Hollywood, and it's really interesting. So Gina Davis, who we love, it starts out with her kind of talking about like how she wanted to be an actress and how she kind of started modeling, and then how she was doing like her first movie was Tootsie, and she's like in her underwear, and you know, she's like, there's got to be more to it than this. And then she does Thelma and Louise, and how this movie was supposed to change everything, right? It was this huge hit. We did a whole episode on Thelma and Louise. Go back and listen. It's such a good movie. Totally holds up like a motherfucker. It's so good. And she, after that, the response she got from that movie made her realize that how we portray women in the media starting very young, even in cartoons for kids, how it impacts women, how we grow up not thinking that we could be all the things we can be because we feel like our choices are super limited. And so they interview all these other actresses. So it's like Meryl Streep and Reese Witherspoon, Sandra Oh, because they're not even just talking about women. They're talking about like women of color, like gay women, you know, all these different things. And Gina Davis started this institute, and they study women in the media, gender discrimination in the media, and she backed it up with facts and like started going around to all the studios and was like, you know, you'll have like 90% of the speaking parts are men and 10% are, she could back up her claims with facts. And they just interview all these different people, and then they interview, this is my favorite part, sorry, I'm rambling. They interviewed the women in the Directors Guild, and there's all of these women who are like we've had like now 2 women who've won Oscars for Best Director, and the women who are currently in the Directors Guild were like, there's some discrimination going on here, and they tried to file a lawsuit. And when they went to file their lawsuit, they discovered that these other female directors in the 70s and 80s filed a lawsuit, and how it got tossed out. So then they go back and they interview all these women from the 70s and 80s and what it used to be like to. It's super interesting. And it's only an hour, 37 minutes. It's worth it. So put it on
I totally would see that.
Yeah, put it on your queue. It's good. I liked it.
Gina Davis is a Mensa member.
She is, she's a smarty.
She's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's into archery.
It's so funny. I was just going to say, she mentioned that, because she was doing archery, and that after, I guess, the movie Brave came out, the Pixar movie, and also the Hunger Games movies. And she said that women being interested in archery increased like 150% after that.
Yeah,
and it
sure.
was just like an example of the impact that like something like Brave, a cartoon that kids see, can have on girls, where they realize, oh, I could do that too. And we're interested in doing it. And then for Hunger Games, that was like teenage girls were like, oh, I didn't know that I could do that. I'm going to do that too. And it's just about like letting women do more and telling different stories. not just male focused. And Reese Witherspoon tells this story about like going around to all the studios and like how they had like nothing for her. Nothing. And they were like, well, we have this one movie. We could change the gender from a man to a woman. You know, and she's like, I don't want to just play people's girlfriends, you know, which is why she then had to, you know, create her own studio. And now she does things like Big Little Lies and stuff. And people are like, it's like rich white people problems, all the shows she does. But I think they're still good. They're telling interesting stories. I thought it was, I really liked it.
For $1 billion. She sold her company.
Did she?
She got acquired. Yeah,
Damn.
She got acquired like a couple of weeks ago for almost $1 billion. So she knows what the fuck she's doing.
Yeah. They also interview, where's her name? I want to make sure I get it right. It's like Tasha J. Henson from
Taraji?
Is that what it is?
I think so. I think it's Taraji. This is so funny because on another show, I can never remember the name of anything, and I'm always corrected. And then here, I can remember the name for everybody when I'm not even thinking.
It's because I get it just close enough.
That's probably what it is. And then it clicks for me.
Yeah. So she's in Empire, and she did like Hustle and Flow and stuff like that. And she was talking about like, you know, she's a like professionally trained actress, and she's like, I'm getting all these parts where I'm playing like sassy ghetto women, and she's like, I want to do more than that, and having to say no to like a lot of parts because you don't want to play the same parts over and over. And
now I just read Rosie Perez's book. She has an autobiography, and she talks about after Do the Right Thing, and she worked on In Living Color, and then White Men Can't Jump. She said how often reporters were so condescending to her and saying like, wow, you're poor and you're Puerto Rican and you're so scrappy. And they would say things like, how did you manage to be successful?
Oh my gosh.
Right. And she would offer, right. Like you said, she said like the word ghetto was used to describe her, or street tough. And she's like, I'm not tough. I'm assertive when I have to be,
right.
But she's like, it's not like I get in fights or fight people or anything. She's like, I'm pretty mellow. Because I'm sensitive, but it's just because of her background and a couple of roles that she played. And people don't realize like those kinds of words limit you.
Yes.
And it limits people's opinion of you. And I totally get it. Taraji is amazing. And even in movies I don't think work all the way, there's the one about the women in the space program.
Oh, Hidden Figures.
Yeah, it's such a great book. It's a movie is a big miss. If you like that movie, please do yourself a favor and read the book because these real women are amazing. But even that, like, what do you mean there were black women that were scientists that worked at NASA? That didn't happen. Like, of course it did.
Yeah.
But Hollywood is run by men.
Mm-hmm. That's what and they make stories for men.
Yeah. And I remember when the whole thing about Star Wars and the character of Rose and that actor was just chased off of social media because people were so mad that she had this part in a movie they didn't like.
Yes.
And I had a male friend of mine like, well, I didn't get that. Like, what was the whole point of Rose? And I wanted to, he said, you look like you were going to punch me in the face. Like, as soon as
You're all because I was.
Because I was like, do you understand? Like, there's a 10-year-old girl out there that sees Rose and is like, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
I can be strong. I can be brave even when I'm scared. Yeah. We never get that.
Yeah, that's why Wonder Woman was a big deal.
Yeah, that's why we still love it. What else have we got?
Right. It's ridiculous. And even though the documentary came out 2 years ago, it's still
irrelevant.
It's still relevant. It's super relevant for sure. I mean, it kind of ends on what Wonder Woman will mean to people, what she means to people. So it, doesn't talk about its not so great sequel and things like that. No. But it is a story worth telling, and I'm glad the documentary was out there. And thanks to Netflix for sending it my way because I don't know how I missed it. So, woo, yay,
woo.
Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
You can find me on social media at Brooklyn Fitchick for Twitter and Instagram, and my site is brooklynfitchick.com.
And if you like the sound of our voices, and of course you do, we also host another podcast called What a Creep, where we talk about creeps and we end every episode with someone who's not a creep. We're having such a good time doing that episode, or doing all those episodes. And if you want to hear us talk about how much we don't like Alec Baldwin, then that's the show for you, or the Dersh. And you could find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and even TikTok, where I'm there to ruin it for the kids. And if you would like some stickers, they're so cute. They're adorable. Everybody drink. You could email us at dorkinoutshow@gmail.com. Could be so kind as to give us some reviews on Apple Podcasts. We'll be your best friends. And by review, I mean good reviews. Come on, you guys.
Don't talk about my nose.
Yeah, what the fuck? Who would leave a review like that? Like, you gave us 5 stars, so thanks for that. Anyway, this was super fun. I am really, really glad that we got to talk about ghosts. This good pick. Oh my God, Margo, what a good pick finally.
I have a pretty decent record.
You really do. And I want you to know that it's amazing because the love inside, you take it with you.